Good evening and thanks for joining us for the Fox 61 News at 6. I'm Brent Harden.
And I'm Sarah Sanchez. The fate of Trooper Brian North now rests in the hands of a 6-person jury.
Yeah, the state and the defense wrapped up their cases tonight with closing arguments. Fox 61's Julia LeBlanc has been in the courtroom from the very beginning, and she has the latest for us now.
Both the defense and the prosecution were each given an hour to speak directly to the jurors before making their decision. And because the state has the burden of proof, they started and finished those closings with the defense sandwiched in the middle.
The defendant fired 7 shots in 1.4 something seconds. 7 shots right to the chest, killing Mubarak Soulemane. I submit to you folks, that's manslaughter.
Inspector General Robert Devlin boiling his closing arguments down to 35 seconds. The time he says it took for 33-year-old Trooper Brian North to get out of his cruiser and shoot 19-year-old Mubarak Soulemane.
You can't kill somebody unless they're posing a lethal threat to somebody else. And you can't do that. That's against the law to do that. And I submit that's what happened here.
That January night, Soulemane led police on a high-speed chase after allegedly stealing a car. Eventually, he crashed it on Campbell Ave in West Haven.
He's sort of leaning back out of it. He posed no threat to anybody.
Then a West Haven police officer smashed the passenger window. Trooper North testified Soulemane pulled out a knife, waving it around. At the same time, another officer seemed to duck his head into the car, getting ready to pull Soulemane out.
How did Trooper North act recklessly with an extreme indifference to human life, with indifference which is the greatest departure from the ordinary, in doing his job?
Devlin disagrees.
He saw the knife and he fired. It wasn't anything about people going through the passenger side window. It wasn't anything about the taser. He saw the knife and he fired. And he wasn't justified in doing that.
And while Devlin focused on those 35 seconds, defense attorney Frank Riccio was asking jurors to take a look at the whole picture, starting earlier that night when troopers were given information that this was a violent carjacking and then chased Soulemane for miles.
Being a police officer is a really difficult job. How did Trooper North act recklessly with an extreme indifference to human life, with indifference which is the greatest departure from the ordinary, in doing his job?
Riccio pointed to North's perception of what was happening the moment Soulemane pulled out a knife, when Trooper North says he pulled the trigger to protect the other officers.
But if the officers on the right side of the car themselves said they feared death or serious physical injury, why is it not reasonable to think that Trooper North could have felt the same?
A split-second decision, Riccio says North made in the moment with no other option.
He thinks about this every day. This is a terrible event. Someone lost their life. But the question is Trooper North criminally responsible for that? He is not.
Now, following closing arguments, the judge charged the jury and sent them back into the deliberation room. Shortly after, they came back with 2 questions about the charges Trooper Brian North is facing, and the judge decided to give them a paper copy of the instructions for clarity. They were dismissed at 4:30, and they'll be back to deliberate tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. We are in Milford. Julia LeBlanc, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.